Hi everyone, my name is Tiago. I will be the host for today's session. I will be talking about strategy. Let me start by sharing the screen. Thank you for joining us. So today it's one of the sessions, the two sessions that we have every week. This is going to be a non-technical one, and it's going to be focusing more on hackathon strategy, from scoping it down, focus, then execute and pitch in limited time. We have around 15 days around that until the deadline of the national hackathon, and even on regional and global, it's 2-3 more months. This is definitely important to focus, to make the right strategy in here. That's where we are going to focus today. A little bit about me. I work for the PT ICP Hub. We help a lot of the startups for the ICP ecosystem. I've been within the IC ecosystem for over 2 years now, helping a lot. I've been seeing a lot of startups from idea to actually being launched on the ecosystem, and it's always an interesting and different stories. For today, the main focus is going to be the session goal: help you win the national round, and hope that the resources that I've brought in here is going to help you, to bring you some alpha, bring you some advantages, as also a way to thank you for coming and investing your time in this session. It's going to definitely be interesting to go in that direction. And if you ask me how are you going to win the national rounds, too long didn't read, by delighting customers. And what do I mean by delighting customers? How do you actually delight customers? It's a very simple thought, even obvious, but it's actually pretty hard to do it well. And as we will see, 99.9999, more than that sometimes, fail to do that. It's because we need to identify first who are the customers, then deeply understand their problems. And finally, if that wasn't already hard enough, you still need to come up with a solution that can be cheap, that can be efficient, and it can be delivered in quick time. So that's why it's sometimes so hard to do entrepreneurship and innovation. And as a way to kickstart the session, I would like to start with a quote. A lot of people think that if they work hard in hackathons, they win. I don't think it's about investing way more hours than everyone else. Of course, you should invest a lot of hours. It's not going to be like that. But it's not enough. I think you should also work smarter, not just work harder. And you should have the process that you are doing shouldn't just be coding, 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 and I don't care about the business. I don't care about the customers. I'm just going to show off that I've built 10 features while everyone else has only built 5. It's not going to be the best strategy for the World Computer Hacker League, because we are looking for launching startups into the ecosystem, and you will be judged a lot with VCs, people that will care deeply about you solving a real problem out there. And for you to do that, you need to focus on processes. Which systems are you doing throughout it? And throughout, I hope the session, you will identify yourself with this phrase. So let's start. I've divided into 2 big areas. First, let's talk about the national round, review some information, some critical updates in there, and then we will go a little bit more into the entrepreneurship, product market fit theory, and tooling, etc., to help you out. Okay. So a little bit about the national rounds. We have started with the qualification, where the focus was more on make sure you are a team, make sure that you have found your team, take your time to find a good co-founder, make sure you talk about ideas, which ideas should you pick, etc. So definitely that's already gone. maybe you already started to play around with the IC, you already understand about the IC. That was the qualification month. Now on the national round at this month, you were expected to continue to build your idea, but also validate your idea as you are building this first prototype. If you are building a prototype, you ask some customers or some potential customers, and they tell you like, I will never use this, pivot as much as you can. Even if on the qualification round you already presented to on the build, the submission, one idea, you are free to completely change your idea. Feel free to pivot as much as you can. What it matters is that you use this national round to validate and finally pick something that it will be worth you developing throughout the next 2 months or 3 months. Okay, so that's the phase that we are in. You are expected to validate your idea. It's very important. For that, the big addition compared to the qualification round is just a pitch video. Okay, that's the only thing that you have regarding eligibility extra. So here is some information on there. There is the submission requirements, and if you notice now a little bit highlighted here with the mandatory. Before it was optional, now it's mandatory. All projects will only be reviewed by a judge if they have a pitch video on top of the previous requirements, like you have a GitHub, be with the DFX JSON and the usual stuff. And the demo, video demo, you still should be doing it again for this round, and be aware that it shouldn't be the same. What it's important to see on the demo is how much did you progress this month. You're expected to build something and advance your product. If you didn't do a commit, if you don't do a new video demo, you're not qualified. Okay, so make sure that you update us what was the progress from the start of August until the end. How much, which features did you add? How much did you pivot, maybe? And what are the new functionalities on the prototype that you are building? On the pitch video, we are going to require that you submit at least these 5 slides, okay? But you should expand, and depending on what is the solution, depending on the problem, you could add the extra slides that make more sense. And but be focused that, especially on this round, it's the product market fit. People are still trying to discover it. So what is exactly your motivation? What is the problem statement? What is the big problem out there that you're trying to solve? And then explain the solution that truly solves this problem much better than the competition, for example. And that's it. So there's also some disqualification warnings in here that we have tried to make it a lot more specific. Okay, that doesn't surprise anyone. The rest, I think it's a little bit the same. Going back to the slides. For that, for you to create the slides, I'm putting in here some tooling that's probably you already know, but it's always good to balance the playing field. Canva, don't forget it has presentations, and Gamma, that has been having a lot of success, so that you can have eye-catching slides. I'm not going to say that the slides design don't matter. Of course, we care, or the judges are going to care a lot about the content, but if it looks more like a Google Doc and pasted into Google Slides, it's not going to convince the judges that you have capacity to actually be an entrepreneur and to develop a product or a service. So I think it will always look better if you have some slides that look professionally, a little bit more attractive. And the people doing pitch decks, it's very common. So both on Canva and Gamma AI, you will find it, okay? And you can use it. Both of them are for free, so definitely try to use it. On top, if you don't feel comfortable with that, go with Google Slides. but I'm not going to lie to you. I do think that these two tools can make your slides look a lot more professional. For recording, a loom is important, something that we can see you or the judges can see you, because it gives this emotional attachment to who is the team, that I think it's also important that the judges feel. Try to do a recording that not only is about your pitch, but also about you. And Loom is free until 5 minutes. So I think it's a good tool, but any other tool is fine as long as you can have the same effect and have a link. For content generation, today we are in the AI months or age. Definitely don't do content generation like the text that you are doing, the selling messages, without actually going through and giving some insights with AI. Two good tools are ChatGPT, that I think it's obvious, don't even have a link there, but Google Notebook LM, in case you don't know, it's a good way to upload a lot of resources. Sometimes you have accumulated on your idea or maybe similar ideas a lot of information. Just try to bring it in to Google, ask some questions or ask it to create structure, even what could be the pitch deck, the presentation, bring in all the information about the team, bring in all the information that you have already created, and it's usually good on giving some kickstart, right, of your content, and try that you go from there to be a little bit more shorter, I would say. Sometimes entrepreneurs tend to lose too much in details, and the judges, they can't follow you. So don't worry about giving too much details of your solution, etc. Try to use AI to summarize and hopefully, be more impactful. Try to pick the most valuable message and make sure that at least that message you pass, and only later you bring in the details. Okay, but you first need to convince them with a key selling point, key message. Okay, and I think the AI and this kind of tools are great to help you identify those things. Okay, so that's it about national round that I had in mind sharing. Now I'll go a little bit deeper into the theory of finding product market fit and how you can have better process on this throughout this month. I think this month is very important for validating your idea. And the big reason why I think this is a critical month is because if you have a bad idea, I already know you're not going to win. It doesn't matter how hard you work. You can work every day. You can have a full-time job almost for this. If you don't have a good business idea, you're not going to win. I'm absolutely sure of that because it has happened in the past. And with more different judges coming around that they are not next to you. They don't know that you have worked so much hours. If you have a bad idea, you're not going to win. You're probably not even going to qualify to the next round. So that's why I think it's way more important this month for you to focus on your idea rather than so much on the tech. The tech, if you have a good idea, resources will come in. If you don't have a good idea, it's a lot harder. Like funding doesn't come, other developers don't get excited to join you. It's interesting that a lot of the times companies they fail because they are trying to do something that has no value, although it's something interesting maybe to, or the person, the entrepreneur has fall in love with a certain idea, but it's a pity because there is way more other opportunities out there, way more customers, valuing if you could fix something else than maybe what the entrepreneur is doing. And these next slides are going to be a lot focused on that, okay? And these are some statistics. This one is a little bit joking. It's me saying it. This one is more realistic, but it's 50% of the registered businesses. So even those ones that are registered, that really had brought in a lot of resources, they eventually fail. And I think a lot of the times it's because being an entrepreneur is really a hard thing. But it will be even harder if you, underneath the hood, never actually had a problem worth solving. Okay. So for you to find a problem worth solving, it requires discipline. And this reaching PMF means product market fit. And reaching product market fit requires discipline. And by discipline means every day you come to work, and every day you're working on that. The same way as a developer is working on the code, you as a founder, you need to make sure you're working on your idea and polishing, identifying that is this exactly the best opportunity, the best problem that I could be solving. A lot of people, I like to give the analogy of a cave. Like, a lot of people enter into the cave way too soon. They shouldn't. They should try to step back, see that they have a mountain. There are multiple caves that they can go in, and they give a step in here, step in there, try to check if the cave is actually big or not. Is it going to be worth it pursuing or not? Don't commit too soon. Try to experiment. Try to always be open to see, oh, maybe I will identify a bigger opportunity, and always go to the bigger opportunity. Fall in love with the problem. Don't fall in love with the idea. Okay, that's a very important message. Okay, so I recommend the reason for that is that a lot of people also think that finding an idea to work on, or business ideas, is you walk down the road, you look somewhere, and suddenly you have aha moment and you think you found a good idea. If you are a little bit more professional, you know that 99% sure that will be a bad idea. And for you to find a good idea, you should study. And one of the most important things is studying the sources of innovation, which are identified. And they all gravitate in here. I'm trying to make a summary. They all gravitate into being a pain. There needs to always be a pain, and this pain is not currently being addressed by the current context, by the current technology, by the current business providers, etc. So that's where these usually good opportunities come in. But even after the good opportunity comes in, you also need to have capacity to apprehend that. I know that going to the moon and extract some minerals, or going to Mars, it's probably a good worthwhile. It has gold somewhere, I don't know, a good worthwhile endeavor, but for sure it's not going to be me going to have capacity to address, right? So it's a little bit like that. So you need to also identify which pain you could actually solve, and also try to identify, as soon as you identify a pain, try to think, has there been any big shifts, any big changes into that pain? Because if the pain hasn't been addressed yet, it's probably because the pain isn't that big, or the current technology is not that good. Maybe you are another thing is that maybe you're not aware of the current solutions as well, because not that many companies invest in marketing. They won't eventually reach out to you, and you're simply unaware of the players that already exist, that are already solving a lot of these things. I always find funny on slide decks where people say we are the first one solving this problem. Many times you're not. There's many other alternatives, many other people that have tried to solve such problems. But yeah, the main focus on this slide is focus on incoming big shifts on either the pain that people are taking in. I'll give an example. Try to think that this incoming big shift is like you are a surfer and you're watching a wave much further down the road. You're seeing it very far away, but you're already starting to swim for it. So it's when the wave comes, you are ready to apprehend this opportunity, right? And when that wave comes, you can surf it. This is a little bit like entrepreneurship and innovation. You need to first see the trends and be the first ones to benefit from that trend. You shouldn't, when it's already super successful, Uber is already everywhere in the world. Now I'm going to create, because it's a big pain, there is a big market, I'm going to create a competitor of Uber. Sorry, but that's probably a terrible idea, because you will have a big competitor, and the reason is, yeah, the wave has, that ship already sailed. It's very difficult now to pick up. If you want to identify good opportunities, you need to start to see the trends, either demographic, either big changes can also be legal. Before there wasn't a problem, but because the law has changed, now it's a big problem for companies to, for example, in regulation, right, and being compliant nowadays with Mika or some other things. It gets created out of nowhere, this pain, right? Now I need to be compliant. And because I need to be compliant, it booms new opportunities for consulting companies or service providers to help them alleviate that pain. So usually big changes on law and are one of the most interesting ones. Changes on trends, like the younger generation prefers a lot more the social, or the way that they buy a product is going to be very different from another generation, and that creates opportunities as this generation is going to come into age, is going to come with more purchasing power, that if you start with them, you eventually will be very successful in the future. So identifying that these trends are happening, and from after those big shifts in pain, you can benefit. And another thing is on the technology, and I will actually give the example of caffeine. We know that creating a website, personal apps, etc., the pain is obvious. It's everywhere. Everyone is aware of that pain. But the way that we can solve it is to hire a developer. We need to pay. We need to go to the computer. Even if you know how to code, you need to come to the computer. You need to focus a lot of hours and to finally have something done. And even myself as a developer, I would never waste my time on just a personal small thing. But with caffeine, the pain reliever, the technology is here, where you can, with your phone, in having dinner, in the bus, anywhere, even in the beach nowadays, you can just start prompting and it creates the app for you. You are coding, creating apps out of nowhere. And this technology, it alleviates, of course, pains that were out there 10 times better than its predecessors, its alternatives. So if you identify a way, a new technology, a new process, a new partner network, a new solution, something that can give 10 times optimized in costs, in time, in whatever, something 10 times better than the competitors, that's interesting. Even though there wasn't any change in the pain levels, it's very interesting that you were capable of identifying something that can actually be much better. And we see this on people that are PhDs. They are doing in-depth research, and sometimes the venture capitals like to invest in these PhDs because they have identified a way that makes a certain industrial process or that can be patented, and it can be sold at a much cheaper cost. And that's business. It's easy business, I would say. So that's where it comes. It's not rocket science. This has been discovered 20, 30 years ago, even more, maybe 50 years ago already, people were writing about it. But it all sums into this: pain level and pain relievers. It's not you go into a cafe, you have a conversation, and suddenly you think it's a great idea to do something. Okay, so please avoid that. And as a homework, going into this concept of requires discipline, for at least 1 week, I would give you the homework of writing every day a business idea. Okay, try to think that this blurb that is only 3 phrases. Okay, a title, a phrase for the problem, and a phrase of the solution, because it's something for yourself. You don't need to work too hard, but force yourself to identify throughout the day a pain. And from that pain, try to think, is there a solution? Is there something else? And by the end of it, by the end of the day, look to your idea, think maybe sleep a little bit around it, and was there a big shift on this pain that I've identified? Was there a big shift on the pain reliever technology, or is it incoming? If not, then forget about the idea. Probably it's going to be a bad one for some reason that you don't even know. Okay, that's the homework. That way you can become a better practitioner of product market fit and product validation. Okay, how does that apply into the slides? And because our main goal of the session is to ensure that you win, right? So I can always see when the slides, this problem and solution, they haven't been polished. It's too raw. It's too generic. Like they just say, I'm going to be the first one to do a social media something. I'm going to be the first one to do something on DeFi. It's always this, right? So I can clearly see that the person hasn't gone deeper. It hasn't gone into actual working on the product validation and identified what is the most valuable customer. First, identifying that this is a good idea from the start. So assuming the previous slide, you already did it. After you do it, you need to be very clear what is your most valuable customer. And instead of saying and be too generic, like we are going to solve this problem for the entire world, just pick the best. Is it the one that is going to be best to start? Is it going to be banks? Is it going to be retails? Is it going to be businesses? Inside the businesses, which industry? Exactly, what is your segment? Why is this important for them? Why is there actually a pain? And is this pain big enough? The total addressable market means that if I can solve this problem, I know that there is 10,000 just in my country, or maybe 100,000, or maybe a million, whatever. You just multiply stuff. And if you can have a big margin or small, even if it's a small margin, but a big quantity, you can definitely see what is going to be the total addressable market. And these kind of concepts are very important for you to know as an entrepreneur, but not so much to mention everything on the slide. Okay, again, try to be short, concise, and the best way I've found is to tell a short story. Today, here is Adam. Adam is clerk from a certain company. He spends 1 hour every day doing a process that is terrible for him. And it costs him, I don't know, $100 every month. And then when you show the solution slide, you can clearly see that with our solution, Adam would not need to spend that time, and the cost would be $10 instead of 100. That's super easy to understand, and that's where you should go. Okay, being very specific, tell a short story, because if you're making this short story, it's making it a lot more clear who is the segment, giving something that is more empathetic People can understand a lot better what is really the problem in there, and that alleviates and makes it easier to follow when you explain the solution. Be specific rather than generic, and especially on the solution. Sometimes on the solution, people just start to say, we're going to build the vision in 5 years time. It's going to be a super killing product. We are going to be better than Facebook. Avoid that. You don't have much time. You don't have much attention. Try to focus on your best selling point, your killer feature. Like, we are going to be, the person doesn't need to spend any hours on this because we are going to be using AI agents to do this. We've identified that this is possible. Our solution is an agentic, enabled, empowered way of doing something that that person was doing. That's the killer feature. Like, it reduces significantly the time for a fraction of the time, and for a fraction of the cost. And that's the main messages you should have on that first slide of the solution. And then on the following slides, it's where, because you already won the attention, you already convinced, let's say, the judge. On the following slides, you can focus way more on how are you much better than competitors, which probably is something that the judges will be thinking. How are your features exactly? This will be something on the web. Is this something that is going to be directly integrated into their software? Is this something that will be on the phone? Is this something that needs to be integrated by a developer with an SDK? This is the right moment after you have made a sale, at least on the head. Then you go for the specifics that the person will be curious. And ensure it's realistic. Differentiate yourself, and also try to focus a little bit what you're going to build during what you're building on the league, and what you hopefully will build until the end of it. Don't go way too long, the long-term vision. Don't waste too much space and complexity in there. Try to say by the end of the World Computer Hacker League, we expect this. Also, you try to use the roadmap a little bit for that. But yeah, regarding the features, only mention the ones that make sense. Okay, the ones that are really realistic for you to build. Then after you have created the slides, something that is important is that you go out there and actually validate. This is going to be critical in here. It's not so, it is more important for you, but it's not going to be required. But especially on the regional level, it is going to be very important to differentiate yourself from the competition, which is going to be way more people and way better projects at the regional level, is that you can bring metrics. You can not only say, hey, my idea is the best, but also my customers are already using it. And here is their feedback. This is John saying that I really love A, B, and C. And here is my metrics showcasing that the weekly active users or daily active users has been progressing like this. Do some product validation. Show that you are going towards product market fit. That's very, very important. So, because this is a little bit the problem of delusion. Like you think that many entrepreneurs think that after they created the pitch deck, that's it. Like they created the pitch deck, they already made it super clear what is their mission, but it doesn't end there. And they sometimes live within their own bubble. They don't actually go out there. They're sometimes afraid of getting reality. Many times they don't know. So they want to solve a problem, but the end users are actually not part of their own network. And they're afraid of reaching out on LinkedIn. They're afraid of reaching out to companies already, being too soon, right? You don't even have a product. But don't be like, you really need to burst that bubble. You need to do thorough customer research. That's my big advice for you to win the national, regional, and eventually global finale, is showcasing that you went out there, you have validated the pain, you have collected evidence, and people are saying amazing stuff. Okay. How to do it? ChatGPT can give you ideas. Try to use it as much as possible. But usually they involve validating the pain. And for that, the two things that I like the most, if you think that this is a big problem, let's imagine. I'll give an example. Someone wants to create a solution for waste management, and hopefully they think that the retail investors have a big problem, and with their solution, they're going to be much better. You doing the validation, like the entrepreneur of the startup doing the validation, they should ask these retail people, how much time, how do you spend throwing maybe garbage out or doing waste management? How much money do you spend on it? And if they, which I think are going to say zero, and they are also spending zero because it's usually municipal service, then you realize that actually you don't have a business in there, because the pain is already so alleviated by other alternatives that it's simply not there. They are not spending time, they're not spending money, so forget about that. You really need to move on to something else. Okay, always try to collect evidence through time. How much time is someone dedicating? Time has value. Like if I am spending 1 hour doing something every week, that's something important. If I'm spending 1 hour every year, that's not important. Okay, so always try to understand exactly this pain. It's not you creating a Google form and asking your network, would you buy a waste management solution that helps you do this and that? Maybe they will say yes. But when you ask, are you already spending money? They will say zero. So it's in that part that you can clearly see that this is not actually a real pain. It's an hypothetical pain. And sometimes we are asking questions to the users that they don't even know how to answer it, and they might deceive you, which is a pity. So really try to collect evidence through that way. Okay, time and money. And regarding the validating your solution, validating the pain reliever, that is the same as saying prototyping. You create a prototype, you get it out there, get the feedback, understand how users are interacting with it, and then you improve the design. By prototyping, it could be something on Figma. You could be something on mockups, something. Just create something, I'll push it to the people, and even before, way before you touching the keyboard, make sure that people are actually understanding how it will look and already giving you feedback. And from there, you can already see from your customers, from your segments, how they would use it. Okay, and try to focus on a pre-screened segment. So focus on your end users. Don't focus on your parents, for example, or your close friends, if they're not going to be the end users. Okay. And try to call it, a good strategy is to call it a closed alpha. You send an email, you send a message on LinkedIn, anything. If this is actually a pain, you're not bothering the person. If they actually feel that this is a pain, they would help you, even a little bit for free. Like the time, at least replying to your message, they will. If this is a big pain for them, I'm 100% sure they will answer you. And that's it. Like you need to identify good pains, reach out there and see if they actually reply back. If they're not replying back, that's already a bad sign. If they are replying back and they are excited to enter into this closed alpha where they will be capable of having direct contact with the development team, They have a lot of benefits. It's going to be for free, entirely for free. No strings attached, no contracts, anything. It's just experimental. They will say yes. Usually people actually come back, and if it's important for them, they will say yes. Try to imagine the early users of caffeine, right? It's not very difficult to identify or to collect emails that would be very interested in a solution like that. It already shows that this is a pain. And if it's behaving as you're promising, I would love to be the beta tester. And so far, it has been having a lot of users. So that's also a good way to validate. And when you're going to be talking especially on the regional rounds, about your success, your metrics. Try to show how this closed alpha has evolved, how much you were able to collect already people interested in participating in the program, how many people whitelisted, how much interest you have in there, and that's already a proof, right, that you're validating it. And the next one, especially after the end of the national round, try to deploy it on mainnet, try to start this closed alpha behind a password or something, and check their usage. Check if they're coming back. Like, not only you're sending them a message on LinkedIn and email, but they are actually opening it up, they're actually playing around with it, and after some days, they're coming back, they're using it, they're replying to you, they are engaged. This means you're after something. If the reply is exciting, you know that you are definitely onto something big. If you're not, don't forget the metaphor of the mountain. Just keep on going into other ideas. Eventually, you'll find your Alibaba golden cave. Okay. This is my last slide about tooling. Try to do market research. You definitely have technology that I didn't have back in the days. It's amazing. You can do deep research on ChatGPT, and to make it clear for everyone, it's this, okay? And on Manus AI, you can even later ask for the slides, etc. You can ask to do a research, and this research can be about what is the pricing of this competitor? What is exactly, and try to find me, tell me how people are solving this problem. Tell me between these different competitors, what is their business model? What is their pricing points? How much traffic are they having? And sometimes you can even research that through a similar web, etc. So you can do with AI nowadays things that would take you a day, 2 days to do manually with spreadsheet and so on. It's really interesting what you can just ask, and 10 minutes later you have the answer. So do this month this product validation. Don't come in on your slides saying we are the first one doing this, and you haven't actually even researched on AI. Is there other people doing what I want to do? My guess, 90% of the time, is that they will say yes, there is. If it's an actual pain. If it's not an actual pain, probably there aren't, but it doesn't mean that there is a business opportunity, because it only means that it's a desert. It's not worth even going that direction. Maturity checking. So venture capitalist, friends of us, has created this business asset test, which is more a way for you to self-diagnose, okay, before you create the slides, etc. Try to go through the questions in the forums. It's going to ask you interesting questions, force you to think, even with AI, etc. So I super recommend you to go through the process of using this tool and identify what you're good at, what you need to work on. And the way that it works is that you answer all the questions, and in the end, you're going to receive on your email a report that was AI generated. But it's interesting. Like, it asks you it's way better than you going through ChatGPT on yourself, because you're forced to have those questions in this acid test. And then based on all the information that you have said, the AI also does product research, market research, and it's going to give you feedback saying, yeah, you need to improve here and there. Okay. And watch out for this, watch out for that. And it's for free. So definitely come here and use it. That's another suggestion that I have. And if you want to look a little bit more into frameworks and where I actually sourced what I was saying, there's two good sources for that. That is Disciplined Entrepreneurship, which is a book from the MIT guy, already very old, but it has a framework that I was trying to get the framework that talks about 24 steps. Without too much surprise, the first ones are about product validation. So this part is where you will be, okay, on this early customer research, product validation, and later on. So this is definitely an interesting thing to follow a lot more close if you want to dedicate more hours. Definitely, I would super recommend Disciplined Entrepreneurship and the framework. Okay. Then value proposal. This is a canvas, but it has theory behind it. Value proposition design is the book. I think the interesting thing is you can also see videos. I super recommend. The reason why I'm showing Google is because many times you have already videos. You don't need to go through all the book by yourself. Sometimes going through the videos, you already get it. The interesting thing about it, the value proposition, is that again it goes to the pain relievers, etc. So you have some interesting going a little bit more in depth into what I was talking about. Okay, and that's it. I think we finished just in time. Now, questions and answers. I hope this was interesting to you. I know that being an entrepreneur, sometimes people think it's common sense, but many times it's not that true. And I'm quite surprised sometimes that people don't put the effort. It's their lives, it's their career that they're talking about, but they just code, and tomorrow they are coding. So try to not fall into that problem, or else you'll be in the cemetery that many other startups have been. If you really want to have a good strategy for winning the hackathon, for launching, for getting a strong customer response, everything starts from the product market fit, this product validation, customer research, etc. And I hope that this session has helped you getting a little bit more conscious of the importance of it, and to identify the tools for you to pursue it in more depth, and that in the next days and weeks of this national round, you can use this information. Okay. And I think if we don't have questions, we can close. I think that's all. Thank you so much for attending.